This is Cliff Matias. I'm the international president of RedRum Motorcycle Club, and I'm here chatting with Stacks.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got Cliff.
Nah. I was just we were, it wasn't really so much of leadership. We were just just a wild band of crazy kids. Yeah, we didn't even really. There was one period of time that we did, function in that way, but it didn't last. There's always, some dude that wants to take over, and but no, man, I just liked. Back then I just liked being the like the sergeant at arms sort of thing. I was a tough kid. I wasn't afraid of anybody because I was like, listen, what's this dude gonna do to me? My old man comes in the room like Joe Frazier, like I
Yeah,
get hit by a dude with forearms like Popeye. Like I'm gonna worry about this cat, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And as a kid, we boxed. Like whenever the family had barbecues, like all the uncles would sit around, throw the gloves on us, and bet, and we'd all beat the shit out of each other. Boxing wise, and
yeah.
so we grew up fighting. So get catching a beating was like the least thing I ever worried about. And I looked at life. Everybody catches a beating now and then. So
Yeah,
I never
back then you
cared.
get a bloody nose, they'd be like, toughen up. It was no
Yeah.
big deal, right?
No big deal, man. You
Yeah.
came home all jacked up, and that was just part of it. So today it's a different story, man. And I feel like the youth are like afraid to catch a like it's just I watch these
Now it's
videos and
this. Now it's the internet. It's the internet. People get to run their mouth on the internet.
yeah, and I say that in the old days, man, if you ran your mouth, someone would be waiting for you to come home. Like someone
100%.
would be sitting in your driveway waiting for you to come home. If you did that in the street in the old days, someone might be hiding in the garbage can and waiting for you to come out and pop out. And garbage cans and the lids were metal and the cans were metal and dudes got hit with them all the time. So it was definitely a different era, a different time, a time of responsibility because what you said and how you lived, you had to take accountability for that.
Yeah.
Much different than today when there's no accountability. People sit in their basements, make up names, and then just go on and troll about people, and 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 there's no humility. Like if you leave something or leave a woman, or like you see these dudes that they leave a woman, or even women who leave a man, and they're just going on and talking about them and discrediting them. And when they both were in a relationship for the better and for the worst, and that's just part of how it works, just canceling people. And I see it and with motorcycle clubs. I see guys that can't, left a club, and in that club, I'm sure they had good times and they had bad times and whatever happened, but their mission, they just can't get over it, and they just sitting there, talking about their experiences and talking about um there was a guy who was going on and on about a 1% club. I remember last year he was just going on and going on and going on, and it was almost like the universe cursed him, man. He ended up getting run over by a car and killed.
Yeah,
Like I don't
blew
know.
up. His bike blew up.
I
That
don't know.
Jersey
Listen, I
guy.
don't want to
Yeah.
talk about the dude. I don't know, want to talk about who he was talking about. I don't. All I want to say is it's all. When you put out all that negative energy, and it's almost like the universe comes back to you. You have to be careful with the things you put out and the things you say. Um, and what you put into the air in the universe, because the universe is really fickle, bro. And all of a sudden this comes back to you. And I've seen it, being indigenous. We have a lot of like spirituality beliefs and a lot of prayers, and there are medicine people that I could tell you that when they put a curse on somebody, like Like you can sit and watch the things that happen to them. You know, we got some real old medicine men in our club and chiefs and stuff. Although, listen, I'm not saying we do that, but there are guys that can sit and tell you stories, you know, and really believe in the healing and of the medicine. You know, I'm kind of joking around about but it's true. You know they say people, you know, that's why we smudge each other but sometimes you just have to be careful what you put out into the universe, because when someone sits and gives that to you, and that's true in a lot of different cultures, right? Hey, you know, you talk about like Haitians use those dolls and they start
Yeah,
chanting needles and dolls, and you know, there's you know, Italians have what, the evil eye, like they give them the, I forgot what it's
yeah.
called in Italian. I grew up with a bunch of Italians, and they give them the, oh man,
The
what's it
horns,
called?
right?
The horns, right? They give them the
Yeah, yeah.
horns, and like, yeah, and yeah, man, you know, you have to be careful when people put that on you. You know, yeah, you
What do
got to
you
be
think the
really.
internet has changed the motorcycle culture?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it look, it used to be a mystery, you know, and you know, nothing against all the guys who would do like the work that you're doing, and because look, you guys do a lot of positive work in these circles and educate people in a positive way, but there are a lot of people doing negative things too and putting it out in a negative way. And I think that there's not a mystery anymore. And then you have gentlemen who've left clubs and are just spewing all sorts of stuff, and it's it's definitely changed in a big way. I've been in you know, motorcycle clubs for, you know, way over 30 years, and I had breaks in periods of time that I, you know, left and I was just a civilian and then came back, and um but yeah, it I mean, you talk to any old school dude, and they'll tell you it's wild how much has changed.
Some clubs have a rule: no internet, no interviews. Is there a rule with your club about using the internet?
We're careful about who the spokesmen are for the club and who goes, because not everyone is, and even I'm even guilty of not being so articulate at moments, you know, but not everyone is able to really communicate the mission of the club. So we're careful about who goes on in the press and who into social media. But you know, personally, I would like to start doing less of this, and let, because we do have some really good articulate brothers who can really give out the message. Like, you know, like I had mentioned on the last. I was talking to Sosa, and you know, I made the mistake of saying the Queen. I'm like you know, I'm what I was trying to say is I'm a figurehead, like the King of England, and is just a figurehead, right? He doesn't pull any strings. He doesn't run the government. In Red Rum, I'm the international and president and founder of the club, but I'm just part of the circle of guys who vote for things. You know, I can't
So
do
people
any.
would think, "Oh, you're the guy at the top calling all the shots. You do this, you do."
No,
That's
I
what
don't.
people would think.
There's
So
a whole group.
what's your
Yeah,
role?
there's a I'm just part of the clog of all those guys who can vote for something. There's things I bring up and guys don't like it. I've been voted down many times, many times. That's just how it goes. But when you commit to that process, then you have to, you know, there are guys in clubs, in this club as well, who you have an election, they don't win the election and they quit. And that to me is like, wow, man, like we just provided you with a process, you know, because in the early days, you know, regionals and state bosses, we put them in place, mainly because the club was new. And you know, you have to make sure when you put someone in that place, it's not a popularity contest. You have to make
Yeah,
sure it's someone who has experience in dealing with dominance, that has experience in leadership. And so, you know, in the very early days, you put someone in place, and now that gives an opportunity for the other guys who want to run against him, right? It gives them some a year or so, so that they can get proficient in speaking to other clubs, in leadership, being a better leader, and so on. So,
yeah.
you know, when you're a new club, sometimes you have to put in guys, but sometimes presidency is leadership is service. To be a leader, you're just a humble servant to those who are part of what you do. And that's how I try to look at it, not in the frame of like, oh, I'm a leader. And I try to explain to presidents of chapters all the time, you're just a humble servant to the members of your club. And if you look at it any other way, you're going to be a failure in leadership.
I'm sure it happens all the time where people are like,
Happens
I'm the
all the time.
president, and you
Not
know,
just our club. You hear about it in
every
tons of
probably every club.
every club goes through the same thing. Some clubs are absolute dictatorships, and this way there's no gray area. I wonder if sometimes that's easier. Guys join, you go, listen, you just joined the dictatorship. This guy runs the show. That's the end of it. If you want to be a member of it, that's what you join under that. If you don't, then bounce, and then it's clear.
Has
But
it always been this way with your club?